Spartan Nation, what's going on? This is Ken, the super cool Spartan, back at you for season 2 of Q the Woodshed, doing a preview show to kick off season 2 here, and got my illustrious brother, co-host, Mr. Brian Williams, aka the Super Mad Spartan, get ready to kick it off. And you want to know who this new face is, huh? Don't you? I know you guys do. Who is this new face we have here on the squad now? Ladies and gentlemen, introducing our newest co-host to the team, Mr. KWAFO Adakwa, aka KWAFO, the Connected Spartan.
Let's go. Pleasure to
What's
be
going
here.
on, sir?
Man,
Yes.
this is going to be a great season with the Williams brothers, Q and the Woodshed, brought to you, powered by ZILLA Sports Network, my venture.
Sir.
Man, I'm ready to get it on and popping. This is going to be a great Spartan season. I got my Spartan gear. We all got our Spartan gear.
Yes,
It's
sir.
gonna be
Jersey on today.
exciting time. He put the jersey
Put
on.
the
Jersey on.
He put the jersey on. Yeah. That's great.
Yes. It's a pleasure to have you on with us, KWAFO.
Right.
Pleasure to bring you on to the team.
For sure.
Yes, sir.
Happy to
Yes,
have you.
sir.
Yeah.
Yes, sir. So let's get right into it, gentlemen. Our preview show, the 2024-2025 Spartans. Season 1 of Coach Jonathan Smith is his staff, coming from all the way from the West Coast to Michigan State. Got a lot of hype, a lot of expectations here, a lot of unknowns.
Unknowns is the key word of the day, I think. Unknown.
There are known knowns and there are unknown knowns, as someone once famously said. So, but I think Coach Smith is going to be he might be unknown to some of us here in the Midwest, but some of us degenerates that will stay up late watching West Coast football, I'm pretty familiar with his craft, and we'll get into it. But I'm very excited about what Coach Smith is bringing to the Banks of the Red Sea.
Yeah, I am too. I know KWAFO before you joined us. When we had our last podcast when the season ended, and we were talking about
Mercifully ended.
who we wanted to, we were kind of talking about what kind of coach that we wanted to have for Michigan State. And I told Brian I wanted someone who was offensive minded, because the last few coaches we had were more defensive minded coaches. Of course, that wasn't a thing at all. But considering how bad our offense looked last season, I told them, we need someone who's more offensive minded on the coaching side for the head coach. So from that aspect, I'm definitely pleased with Jonathan Smith, taking over, from Oregon State. And even though, hasn't coached the game yet, but just from what I've seen in the off season, I'm pretty satisfied, with him taking over from what we had. What about you? What do you say, Super Mad Spartan? What are your thoughts on Coach Smith before we get into it?
When we did our show previously, we talked about who was going to be the coach, and it's one of the guys we kind of said, hey, we kind of hope we get this guy, because seeing what we went with our previous coach to now, we kind of needed a reset, and we need somebody who was about football. Yeah, it was good to be flashy on the outside, but we needed a little bit more meat and potatoes. And we're going to get that with Jonathan Smith. I feel like him and his coaching staff, they're about the fundamentals and bringing in the right guys and the fit and the culture. And with the transfer portal, how things nowadays, that's the only way you can keep your team together. You need a little bit of both. And I think having the culture set allows you to bring in some additional guys that can fit in. And we'll see how it works, because Jonathan Smith definitely brought in a lot of new people, a lot of new faces to the program.
Yeah, most definitely. So let's get into it, gentlemen, with the schedule here. I'm sure everyone has it pulled up, probably has it memorized at this point. Kicking off everything.
Nightmares
against
about
No nightmares. There's a stretch in October where it'll be tough to sleep, but we should have no nightmares, man. Coach Smith is doing great. He's to what you were saying, just quick before we get in the schedule, he has built a culture. He has meat and potatoes, no nonsense, like you said. I mean, you find the guy at local restaurants just having a burger and some soda. He's not even tripping on anything. So he's a culture setter. The people he's brought in from a staff perspective definitely are professionals at what they do. And so the product, I'm excited for next Friday because the product is going to be vastly different than what we said. I'll leave it there for now.
Yes, I agree. I think one thing that was good about him is that he was able to establish, some level of professionalism and, culture because, as we all reflected upon last season, we know how that went. So that was something that we definitely needed, a reset
Yes,
to get this train back on the proper track.
Facts.
So
that was an Amtrak derailment right there. Woo! Lord Almighty.
Yes.
We back on track though. We on the right track.
Right. All right, so let's get into it, gentlemen, with the schedule here. What are your guys' first thoughts on your first glance at the schedule? KWAFO, I'll start with you. What are your first initial thoughts here on the schedule?
I think, being the, what are we calling us? The connected Spartan, just, being just as much around as I can and just seeing stuff here for those new to my style, close, being near the campus, you just hear things, see things, and looking at the schedule in totality out of the 12 games, I've got us really 7 or 8 of those games they should be competitive, if not win. We all know the 4 gauntlet, the run we have to do starting at the end of September with Ohio State and then moving into the Oregon game, Iowa, and then Michigan. That's what's going to make or break the season, as we all know. Those 4 games, I anticipate the school to be competitive in those 4. The question will just be coming out of that, in terms of attrition, how many people get injured? What's the mindset like coming out of that? But I anticipate getting off to a quick start this year. In the first 4 games of the season, I really see our guys doing what they need to do, even with 2 road games to the East Coast and Maryland and Boston College. I'm thinking those are close, if not wins. So I've got them at least a 3-1 through that stretch. We've got the tough stretch that everyone knows, one of the toughest in the country. And then in the back half, I think as a team is gelled, understand the schemes and whatnot, Indiana, Illinois, Purdue, that group, Rutgers, and that finishing group, I think the team will do well. So I've got them at 7-5, 8-4, somewhere in that neighborhood, getting back to bowl eligibility and building on the chance to now with an expanded playoff, think about the future and where we go for next season. This is definitely a foundational year, but I've got them at 8 wins. I don't know about you, Brian. Like, what do you see? I see 7 or 8 wins as a very plausible outcome for this team.
Yeah, I'm pretty much in line with you. The biggest part is that 4-game stretch you talked about. That's going to be where we're going to see how this team is improved. Because not necessarily, of course, we want to win the games, but we want to see improvement. Their last couple years, we didn't belong on the same field as some of these teams. We're talking about Ohio State in the first quarter, first 10 minutes. Well, they're up 3-4 touchdowns. They can put their backups in, and they're on easy street. Like, can we at least get back to competing with these teams? Let alone winning. I know we're kind of down bad in that respect, but honestly, like you said, it's a foundational year. I want to see improvement. I want to see the team go out there and look like a football team, a well-coached football team, because last year they're at least at a minimum 2 games that were cost just by just bad coaching, dumb penalties, winnable games. It should be winning our sleep. So can we correct those mistakes? That's basically I'm looking for. In terms of record, I think 6 wins is the minimum. I feel like in this day and age of college football, transfer portal, the amount of money, money creates expectations. We mentioned a little bit a few days ago when we talked. Some people are on this team, coaching staff and players included, are gaining pay. So I don't think 6-6 is a small thing. It should be the minimum standard for this program. Looking at the schedule, I see 6, 7 wins at the ceiling, 8. So I'm right there with you, KWAFO. What about you, Kenny?
Yeah, I'm in line with you guys. I looking more so 7-5, 8-4. Now, I think that with that gauntlet of games from the end of September to the end of October, I think that based off history, that MSU and Iowa, they've always been competitive games. I mean, I can actually see us beating Iowa because we've always played them tough, whether if it was at their stadium or at home for us. You know, sometimes those games have gone our way, sometimes they haven't. So I think Iowa can be a very winnable game. I think Michigan can also be a winnable game too, considering just the rivalry alone, because when it comes to rivalry games, with the exception of last year, you know, those games are competitive. It doesn't matter what record that you have. Records go out the door. It's about just that competitive nature that, you know, the team comes out with. And I think with Michigan, I know, you know, they're getting a lot of hype in the sense that right now they're preseason ranked number 9. You know, they've been given their so-called respect, even though they cheated their way to that. But we won't get into that. We'll say that for another podcast. But I do think that, you know, that game is winnable because that Michigan has questions just like us. I mean, yeah, I know that they bring back a good number of players on the defensive side, but that offense, I don't know, looking pretty questionable to me. And I think that they don't have a solidified quarterback compared to us. So that's a winnable game too. If we go high within that 4 stretch of tough games, 2-2, you know, I think that would fare well for us. To me, out those 4 games, if we just beat Michigan, I'm fine with that. But I see 7-5, 8-4, and using this first season, you know, with the Fighting Smiths as a foundation to, you know, leapfrog us and propel us, you know, moving forward with the next several years. And then just to build upon that, you know, I think that if we can really get into the mix of being really competitive, I'll say with the next 3 to 5 years per se, you know, because I think by year 3, maybe year 4, we should be at least knocking on the door, if not at least getting into the playoff, considering now it's a 12-team
Year
playoff.
4, year 3, I
You
think
know,
it should be
yeah,
we and then
yeah,
there are the last stretches hey, Michigan State's that team, because if we can kind of transfer to kind of talking about the roster a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I think it all comes down to how good is our quarterback.
yes.
He believes himself to be pretty good, according to what he said. I think he's pretty good. A lot of other schools think he's pretty good. So, I mean, you know, if it walks like a duck, talks like a duck, might be a duck. So,
What did he
yeah,
say?
I mean,
bet the over.
Yeah, he probably get he probably just me knowing, you know, me being around, he's probably getting a talking to off of that one. That was I appreciate the young man's bravado. He's 18 years old. Like you said, he's one of the captains this year. He might have chose a different approach. I get what he was saying.
Yeah.
Hey, you just mixing in some, you know, but they're gonna be really competitive at the quarterback position. Wide receiver room, you know, really strong with freshman Nick Marsh, Antonio Gates back there, Montori Foster, my guy, Coach Hawk. Shout out to Coach Hawk. He is a good friend and just a great teacher of young men. And so they're going to be great. The offensive line that is going to be great as well. So a lot of firepower on offense. And then when you think about Joe Rossi, bringing him in as a DC, there's a lot of pieces. That defensive backfield, I think, is going to be a strength of the team. In years past, where there was a bit of an issue with coverages and stuff like that, From the safety position with Tatum and Spencer, those guys will knock you out cold, and then maybe give your hand to pull up, but maybe not pull your hand up. I mean, they're just some stone cold hitters back there, and then the secondary has really been a thing that's been stronger in this offseason. So really thinking defensively, it'll all come down to pass rush, right? Can Chris Vogel step up and do it? He's been here for a while now. Can he step up? Can they get some interior pass rush and kind of help out? Linebacking core is going to be solid with Jordan Hall and that group there, and that to anchoring that group. So I'm pretty bullish. That's why I game with a 7, 5, 8, and 4, because I think all three levels defensively they should be solid. Offensively, if the offensive line holds up, we didn't even talk about Nate Carter. Guy is going to be, I think, a sleeper for Doak Walker. Is one of the best backs in the country. Just a solid young man, great talent, true Spartan. If you just listen to his comments and spending time with him. So I don't know about you, Brian. What are you thinking roster wise? I mean, we got some firepower in there. 61 new big faces.
We got some guys.
It's kind of shaking up.
Yeah.
So I have, I'm hopeful because even last year, as bad as the statistics were for the defense to the eye, if you watch the games, they weren't the reason they were losing some of those games. They were on the field way too long. Remember, we talked about it in previous podcasts, 90 snaps. Like, that's a lot for a defense. And so they're giving it up. Now, I'm not saying they were world beaters and they were, challenging, 2013 Spartans and no fly zone. Not at all. I thought they were solid enough. But the defense but the offense was just 3 and out, mistake, turnover. It just kept on the field too long. But like to your point, I am bullish, but I'm kind of tempered in a way. Because one thing I do think about the offense is the offensive line. I think the starters are okay, but we can't sustain too many injuries to the O-line, and most teams can't. I think when they talked about it earlier, Smith said they had about 6 to 8 guys they really trust, but they need to get down to like 10. So that means he's letting hey, we're kind of thin up front. So we need a little bit of injury luck on our side this year. So I think to get to that 8 victory mark. But I like the starters. You hit on the running backs. I'll talk about the transfer from UMass.
Adams, yeah.
He's in the same mode as Carter. They're sluggers. They're guys going to go out there. They're workhorses. So I think if you look at that, their 10 is they're going to want to pound the rock this year. And I think pounding the rock helps out your young QB. Being able to get him in play action, get him to be comfortable. One point, talked about, all right, tight ends. We haven't really used the tight ends recently. They haven't been up to Michigan State standards. They bring over Jack Belling from Oregon State. He led the nation in tight end touchdowns last year, so they schemed him open a lot. We've been hearing good things about the younger tight ends, Parachek and Masunis was he came on. So you're talking about 3 guys that, all right, we can do something about. And I think there's another guy kind of hidden away. They kind of mentioned him a little bit. Is Adelaide Fele, I believe that's his name. Mm-hmm. He was a transfer a couple years ago from Norfolk State. People kind of think, okay, well, is this guy? But he showed up in the spring game a little bit. He's got mentioned a couple times. It's a big, like 6'7", it's a big guy. So what can we do there?
Shout out to the Nigerians.
And in terms of defense, it's going to come down to the lines again.
Right.
Do we have difference makers? I think we have, from what I can tell, so we have a solid group of guys. But who can be that guy to step up? You mentioned Chris Vogel. I think about Jalen Thompson. We saw at the end of last year, he started coming on Cass Tech grad, started getting the passer. He started having for his numbers coming in for the money play. Looks pretty good. All right, so there it is. And then you talk about the linebackers. Linebackers seem to be the deepest on the team. You have Jordan Hall, Jordan Turner's the captain, Matthews the transfer. You have Snow returning. You have Holiday, and I think they'll put Holiday in better position so he doesn't have to cover people as much because you don't want your big thumping linebacker have to fall back into coverage. So I see that we can be multiple on defense, and Rossi has a history of being good. So there is a lot of optimism to be had, but again, I have to kind of see it. I've been hurt in the past.
Yeah, and you've been a lot madder in the past too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's hope we keep the blood pressure down this year. Hope the guys keep the blood pressure down for him this year.
We'll see. I can get worked up.
Yo, yeah. As you'll see, KWAFO, you will see, my brother, because
I've heard it. I've heard it. Talk him down off the ledge.
Well, my take is going back to Aiden Childs, because I did get a chance to see him at the spring game. I did go to the spring game this year. And from like the very first few snaps I saw him, I was like, okay, this kid has something compared to the previous spring games I've been to, where there really wasn't any separation between the quarterbacks. Like last year, it was Peyton Thorne and, the quarterbacks that played Noah Kim. You didn't really see that much separation between those guys. But when I saw Aiden Childs, just from the spring game, I was like, yeah, this kid has something. He has an arm. He could definitely throw that ball. He definitely could throw the ball. He does give the offense, added dimension with him, running out of the pocket. So I guess in that world, they could do RPOs, whatever that is on the college football level. I just know RPOs from the NFL level. I think
it came from college, yeah.
Childs gives some level of flexibility with the offense. But to your point, Brian, I think that, and I think Coach Smith has said this too during the college football preview on Big Ten Network, that they're going to be running the ball quite a bit just to, get Childs comfortable, since he's, technically like a first year starter, even though he does have some experience when he was backing up DJ Lele, whatever his name was, from Oregon State.
DJ,
he's playing right now, so we're not even worried about that at Florida State, right?
Right. But yeah, I think that there is overall, I think the offense will look much better, much fluid compared to what we've seen at least these past couple of years. So, I think that as Spartan fans, we should be pretty good. Yeah. Yeah, I don't know. We're going to see that many jet sweeps.
Jet sweep.
Jet sweeps.
The jet sweeps to the
short
left,
side
jet
of the
sweeps
field.
to the right.
The jet sweep. Nightmares about that.
Yeah.
Hope he just called just control us. Hey guys, let's 3rd and 1. Let's give a tight end sweep to the inside.
Right.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So I think from offensive perspective, we'll look pretty good on offense. Defense, yeah, I'm very curious to see how we look on defense, because looking at Joe Rossi, I mean, of course, being familiar with from him when he was at Minnesota, I didn't realize how good he was, or he had a Minnesota defense, and really started looking at the research on him, and then what they had pointed out during the college football camp on Big Ten Network, I was like, wow, he's pretty impressive. So I think overall we have a pretty collective unit there. One last thing I'll say too is at the very, very, very least, we should have above average special teams. Our special teams play was horrendous. At the very least, can they not give these dumbass penalties? I can
get mad right now. The special teams formation penalties, 5 yard, like that cost us games.
We're it's gonna be a more professional run outfit. We're not gonna see some of that stuff. I'm 98.2% positive we're not gonna see that kind of nonsense. So yeah, it was just.
I hope not, because that will make me really upset. That will bring out the mad Spartan, because you could count it every game. It's going to be some type of special teams gap, 5 yard penalty, re-kick, turn. Is that how they lost the Iowa game? The punt penalty.
Please don't do
Punt,
that.
return for a touchdown.
It's all flooding back. It's all flooding back. No, no. That was an NBC. No. And I have a lot of coworkers and friends out in Iowa City, Cedar Rapids area, and they were kind and gentle because that's how those Iowa people are. But they could have really. I mean, whew, that was tough going to the office on Monday after that one. So
yeah. They have made penalties I've never even seen before in football, college or pro. Because I told Brian, like, Brian, what? Does that penalty even exist? I mean, I had never seen a penalty like that before, ever.
Well, it was a strange year in many ways. We're gonna put that one in the past. It was a strange year in many ways.
Good point. Bringing up the special teams. I had just put it out my mind.
For good reason. You had to put out your mind. Ooh, it was bad.
Yeah. But, yeah, I think overall on the up and up. And I do think that when it comes to the overall, like, national perspective, or even within the Big Ten, I think MSU was underestimated a little bit. I think that, no one has really, no one has any real expectations for them because of all the unknown factors about the team. But I think once the season starts and as things progress, I think I think MSU would turn some heads a little bit. I mean, of course, coming into the season, you have the talking heads. I mean, Ohio State's already projected to win the Big Ten, which, yeah, I don't see I'm not going to dispute that.
I think we got a better quarterback than them personally.
So,
but we'll see.
Yeah, we'll see.
We'll
see. Like I said, I think Aiden Childs is going to surprise a lot of people. I think that's why ultimately he made that, bet the over comment. And again, I get it, KWAFO. Yeah, he's 18, he's young, feeling himself a little bit. But I do think he'll sneak up on some teams, offensively. And I do think that MSU, I think as the season progresses, MSU will be one of those teams you look on your schedule as an opponent and be like, okay, this game, not going to just cakewalk through this game.
No,
especially not like last
year. Back to
year.
respectability.
Yeah, you're going to have to put on your helmet and your pads. Like what Greg Jones told us when we interviewed him. Yeah, they're going to bring that wood, bro. They're going to bring it.
I firmly believe that. Yep.
So.
Too bad Aiden Childs made those comments. I know Jonathan Smith likes to run. I can tell they like to be just quietly confident, but I don't think there's.
Yeah.
I understand why they don't want him to say things like that, but it doesn't bother me a whole lot because Michigan State needs a little swagger, a little something. And I don't mind it being quiet confidence, just a little comment like that instead of braggadocious. I don't think he was going out there and say we're going to beat every team. He just said no. We're going to bet the over. And to be clear, the win total for the year is what, 5 wins is over. So it's not like we're talking about.
Wait a minute. That's the win team.
It's 5
really?
It's like 5.5. 5.5. That's what Vegas. Yeah.
If you have 4.5,
really?
So 5 is the over. So I don't think it's a crazy thing to say, hey, I think we can win 6 games this year. I feel like that's not even that crazy of a thing to say when you think about what 6 wins really means in college football with most people's non-conference schedules.
Right.
We have a decent non-conference. We're playing some, real teams occasionally, like a real Power 5 team. But let's say if we, put in another HBCU and took off Boston College, right? You're talking about 4 victories up front. Then you just got to beat 2 Big Ten teams.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 6 is not like a lot to ask for from a team.
It shouldn't be. It shouldn't be with the resources this place has and the history this place has. Yes, that should be the basement. 6 should be the basement for this season going into it.
Wow, that seems a little disrespectful. They just put it at 5 wins. Like really?
4.5 is the
line. Wow,
4.5. Yeah.
So they just expect us to just repeat what we did last year.
2 years in a row, basically.
5
wins and 4 wins.
Now.
So
Wow.
I mean, from the outside looking in, I can understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Our coach did what he did last year, and he's gone. The team didn't look that much improved from year to year. The roster, most of those guys are gone. Like I said, it's a team of unknowns. So how do you even predict what Michigan State's going to be? There's so many things that can go right, so many things go wrong, so many factors. The team itself, mostly transfers, mostly new guys. How do they gel? I think Coach Smith has made a point of interest that, hey, everybody on the team needs to be connected. You need to know this person's name. You need to be friends with these people. And so I think that helps the culture-wise, but we'll see how it looks. FAU coming up.
Yeah. And I think what's interesting, too, this year, which I haven't seen in years past, and you guys let me know this. It's interesting that every game is like home away, home away, home away, home away. There's no continuity in terms of you have 2, 3 home games in a row, or at least 2 games that are on the road.
So
What
what
do you
you
guys
mean is we're
thoughts
not
on
like
that?
Michigan. We don't leave the state. We leave the state occasionally. So the first 7 games aren't at home.
Yeah.
Michigan started scheduling like the SEC teams. They figured out, oh, that's how you do it. That's a Georgia Alabama model where they stay, at home the first half to 3/4 of the year. So I get it. We just play who's in front of us, right? We just play who's in front of us and take care of business, like
That's the Michigan
Spartans
State
always
way.
do. That's what we always do as Spartans. Scheduler's not gonna do no favors for us. We already know that. So we know that going into it. We just play them, line them up, knock them down. That's
Right.
the mission this year.
Right. So KWAFO,
I
I'm
do
gonna kick
think
this
our
question
bye
to
weeks are
you.
really good for us, though.
Yes.
What was that?
Yes.
What was that, B?
I said I think the bye weeks are in good spots for us.
Yeah.
You have
Yeah.
your first game stretch, then you play Ohio State, Oregon, break, Iowa,
Michigan.
Michigan, Indiana, break. So you kind of get some in between there to reset in the middle of the year, which can help, especially we don't know what our depth is going to look like,
Yeah.
what the injury situation is going to look like.
And get healthy. Yep. Exactly.
Right.
Go ahead, Ken. You about to say something? Sorry.
Yeah, I was gonna kick this question to you since you were doing more studying of the first opponent of Florida Atlantic.
Right.
What are your initial thoughts on them?
Yeah, I mean, always it's interesting. This is not a December game, which would be a lot more fun for those boys coming up here in December. But FAU out of the group of 5, Tom Herman, it's a name a lot of people would know for around this part. He's in the second year down there at FAU. It's really the first year of having his kind of crew. So we talk about the roster transfer and turnover Michigan State's having. FAU had similar. I think pretty much all of college footballs had the turnover. So a lot of the previous coaching regime down there, FAU, those guys are kind of gone. It's a new breed in there. I would say for those, I think going to the game next week or watch for their quarterback, Cam Fancher, running backs, and kind of be a little bit of a mirror of Aiden Childs. He had a track background, so we know if he gets to the edge, he can dip out. He's been a 2-year starter, so he's going to be very savvy back there, and Rossi's going to have to dial up some things to kind of confuse him a little bit. And again, a kid with that kind of experience has seen some things. The defense, their secondary is going to be hard to throw on, but it'll be a challenge for us to start off. CJ Hurd is a freshman All-American. He's the only person in the in the group of 5, who's a All-American and got that from 24/7 as a cornerback. Just looks the part. Bugs Brown is on the other side there as well, and they got Day Hill. So their secondary is pretty good. Where we're going to be able to be better than them is up front, which is always an issue with the group of 5 teams. It's like they just don't have enough size. As you go through the game, it's a game of attrition. They may be there with you as a group of 4 team, but their O-line, D-line just gets worn down. And that's probably what's going to happen. Is their O-line was probably not. I would expect several sacks from our defense. I would expect some turnovers created because as the game goes on, FAU, is a team that will make some noise later in the season, but it's a tough ask for them to come up here think the spread was like 11 points, something like that. So they'll probably be close at the beginning, and then the Spartans should be able to pull away in the half. But FAU, interesting to start the year with that kind of opponent.
Cool. That's a great rundown there, sir.
Yeah,
You told me to come prepared. You said come prepared. You said well, Cuda Woodshed has a standard. The standard is standard. So we got to play the standards.
That's a great rundown, and that's when I had
that
a few things.
That was
Tom Herman, coach. He was at Texas and kind of booted him out a little bit early, so he had them looking okay. I think because they have a lot of transfers as well, because they have a lot of people leave, because that's the hard thing for a group of 5 school is once your good players look a little good, the big boys are going to come knocking, because we're going to want depth in roster places. So they're in a sort of similar spot, and they have a lot of new faces too. But again, there's some people who've already been there for a second year. So I think it provides a good test for the Fighting Smith, as you say, Ken. And to KWAFO's point, we should eventually just wear them down on the lines. And especially if our defensive line is at least just solid. They have enough big bodies to rotate out of there. And I think one of the coaches said at defensive tackle, they have 8 guys that can play. I think that's a little high. But again, just to say you can put them out there, if we can rotate 6 guys in defensive tackle and they have an offensive line, there should be some noise made. We should be a game that maybe tighten to the third quarter, and then we start, all right, we're bigger, better, stronger.
You guys think that this will be a game where we'll see as maybe, because you guys, and I agree with you guys, that as the game progresses, they should wear down FAU. Do you think we'll see some of the other quarterbacks get a chance to get some playing time, the backups? Or do you think Aiden Childs is going to ride it out for the whole game just because of him needing the reps?
Well, he does need the reps, right? He's never started a game in college football, right? He played in 4 games for Oregon State, so he needs reps. But if this game is, how we think it should go, as B just said, in terms of by the third quarter, we separate by three touchdowns or so, you could see some of the backup quarterbacks get in just to get their feet wet a little bit. But let's hope for that, right? Let's hope for people to be able to leave, beat the crazy traffic that's around East Lansing right now, be able to beat that traffic and get on home for the Labor Day weekend. Let's hope that's the way it goes. But I would expect a close game definitely into the second half, as Brian said.
Okay, so there'll be a little sweating there. So Brian may show a little madness.
What's a Michigan State opener without a little sweat? We've gone back to the D'Antoni years. Ran it in the third quarter with Western, or into the fourth quarter with fighting against Western. Like Utah State. Like it can be dicey.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's true.
It's a new regime. We will see. Hopefully, the biggest thing I'm looking for is, all right, what do we look like from one game to the next? Right. What do we look like? FAU. I know Prairie View is not that good. Okay, then what about how we looking? We go on the road, Boston College.
Well, we'll have football team after FAU. I mean, we'll have a pretty good test because we play at Maryland next.
Yeah, Maryland. Yeah,
I'm sorry, I skipped Maryland.
Yeah, on September 7th.
You got to be ready to go. So you have to have it. You have to have it. If that's the case, we might see Childs into the fourth quarter, even if we're up 3 scores, because he needs the reps. Like, to your point, KWAFO.
Yeah, definitely. With Maryland on deck, it's not like we stacked it like we talked about, like some other schools. That road Big Ten test early on is going to force the hand to play well and play in a way that gets you ready for next week for September 7th.
Yeah, and not to look ahead too far, but yeah, we've taken some lumps from Maryland the past couple years, so it's not like a gimme game, like maybe back in the D'Antonio days.
When I play Maryland in September, that's when they've usually been like their best.
Right.
And then as the year goes on, they kind of slide, but we've caught them twice in September now, so hopefully we can stop the bleeding.
Yeah.
Right. So, well, all right. Any more for us here? You think show? Any more thought?
I'm just happy to be, it's going to be a good season here on the banks of Red Cedar. Happy to join Q the Woodshed with ZILLA Sports Network and having a really good season with you, brothers. It's going to be fun. I can already tell we're going to have a lot of fun as the season progresses, and we see how this thing unfolds. So looking forward to many more episodes.
Most definitely. Q the Woodshed, powered by ZILLA Sports Network. Let's get it. Go green.
Go white.
Go white.
Go white. Go white.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So before we end this preview show, this dynamic thing with the preview show here, got the MSU fun factor, everybody. And this is a pretty interesting one, I think, to start out the new season here. And before I give the answer, I'm going to give you guys a chance to guess the answer. So, who do you think, which MSU football coach has the highest winning percentage?
Winning percentage?
Yes. I'll give you guys a hint. It's not who you think it might be. I was surprised when I found this information.
I was first off the top was D'Antonio. So was it like Perlis?
What say you, KWAFO?
I think it's Biggie Munn.
Both of you guys are wrong.
Man, you're trying to go off the script.
Even though Antonio is the winningest coach in MSU history, and Biggie Munn, he has a lot of wins. The answer is John Macklin. John Macklin, who coached MSU in the 1910s era.
So I don't know who that is. Percentage. That's learned me something today.
His winning percentage is 0.853, and he was 29-5.
Oh, wow.
I don't know how long he coached at MSU. I never even heard of John Macklin. But when I found this information, I was like, who? And then, yes, John Macklin in 1911 had a winning record of 29-5, thus having the highest winning percentage of MSU football history.
Learn something new every day. 1911, I don't know. That's like some of those natties they talk about down at that school down the road.
Right.
We're gonna leave school for the deaf.
Right. Seven dudes working at Edsel Ford's factory. Get out of here with that. Anyway, I appreciate the fun fact. I appreciate that.
Yes, thank you, Ken.
I'm just saying, Ken. I don't want to rain on the parade as we close up shop.
Hey, don't blame me. Hey, this is what the power of Google. What can I say? Well, this was a very excellent way to start off the season, gentlemen. I think we're going to have a very good season. I do predict that Brian less this year. Of course, I'm not gonna put here, but otherwise, I think this was a great way to start off the season. So, once again, this is Ken, the super cool Spartan. My brother Brian, the super mad Spartan. Our newest addition to the team, ZILLA Sports Network. Mr. KWAFO, the super connected Spartan. As you guys will see as we keep this train rolling. And we are out. Cue the woodshed.
Peace.
Peace. Love and go green.
Go white.
Go white.